figure that's only fair enough.
Yeah. So I'll be ready.
All right. So we're good to go. So, I am here with Miss Kristina Gray, one of the photographers from Kaleidoscope Nights. This is our first Skype video. We decided to title it KaleidoSkype Nights Interview with Nick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Miss Kristina Gray.
Hey, everyone who's gonna watch.
You were telling me you're living in Washington, and you're telling me about what inspires you as a photographer and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I was gonna talk about it a little bit. Since we moved to Bellingham, Washington, I don't know, like I feel like I've changed a lot as a photographer and just the way I see everything and what exactly I wanted to photograph and what inspires me. Like I kind of found myself here as a photographer more because I feel like when I lived in Bismarck, I kind of just started kind of like working on my photography, being like, all about like business and like started working as a full-time photographer. I kind of was trying a little bit of everything, wasn't sure what I want to do, what I like. And here I don't know, since we moved, there's just so much nature. I always outside. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's really inspires me just to go outside, go for a walk, and like I don't know, just like the mountains, the ocean, everything just kind of helps me to figure out like this is what I can use for my photography. Like I love it. Like I photograph couples now, not just like families and stuff, but like it really helps me create like different kind of like use nature as a prop, I would say. And I started working with small businesses and photograph like objects and food and drinks and stuff, and I use nature as a photography as well. And I love it. Like I photograph mostly everything outside, and it's amazing. It really kind of helped me find myself, I think. And I love landscape photography too. More like I photograph a lot of nature now, and I don't know. It's amazing. It's just like I tried new things finally, and like figured out what I like to do, and yeah, that's kind of what inspires me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like a hub of creativity out there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in this.
Sorry, pause you just a second. Can you tilt your camera up just slightly?
Oh yeah, let's see. Like this?
Just a tish more, because it's like cutting off at your eyebrows.
Oh, is it clip? Really? Let's see. Let me.
I'm sorry. I just figured out how to move the camera around.
Is that better? Should I move back a bit?
That's good. Yeah, that works.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, then that way I had it as like where I was a tiny box in the corner and it was you, and I was like, is there a way to move the cameras around? And it actually let me do it, so that's kind of cool.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't see for a bit.
So, inspiration-wise, nature's a big one for you.
Yes, definitely. And I think meeting new people too. I started traveling a little bit more, meeting new people, listening their stories, where they're from and everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I started working with people more and hearing their stories, how they opened their businesses, what they did for it, all that kind of stuff inspires me to just push myself more to try new things, because I was kind of in the box before, like just stick to one thing and like keep doing it. But at the same time, I was like, I need to try something else. I need to try more things and see like, do I like it? Because I always thought, oh, it's not for me. This is not for me. I only like this. But like now I tried more stuff here, photograph more, I don't know, just the different angles of things, and like realize, oh, this is fun. This is different, and I like it actually. Kind of get out of my comfort zone.
That's awesome. So you're when did you start photography? When did you first get into that?
I think when I was in college, my first year of college, which was like I think 2011 or something like that. I kind of started. I had a camera before, but it was just like for fun. But in college, I kind of started slowly picking up on like, oh, I like photographing people, and like I love macro photography. I started just taking pictures of objects and just little things, just like of everything. And yeah, I had my like first camera. Like I remember my mom bought me a first camera, and I was like so obsessed with. I just couldn't stop taking pictures, and I thought it was like a phase. I was like, okay, I'm just like taking pictures. Maybe a lot of people do that. But then I brought my camera everywhere with me, like on literally everywhere I go, like just for a walk, even to my school or parties, like everything. Just always had to capture everything all the time. I don't know why. I just was like into it. And I had like other stuff that I was into, but I thought maybe, it's gonna go away. It's just one of the things that I maybe just like for now. But then I realized like I don't get tired of it. Like I love it. And it's just every year I grow and I change, and my camera is still with me and I still want to take pictures. And and yeah, everyone kind of got used to me having my camera with me all the time. And I don't know, it's funny. I finally realized like this year that I found myself something I really love doing, that it's not someone pushing me to do or I have to do because of, like get something. But
Right.
this is like something I really do every single day, and I spend hours for like edit my photos and look through them, and I don't get tired. Like I love it. I love every minute of it. And yeah, I'm just glad that I found something that I that I can do and kind of live with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, that's awesome. One of the worst things I've experienced is encountering somebody very talented, which you are, and finding out a few months later, a few years later, that they're no longer doing their craft. Like they're
Yeah.
no longer experimenting and doing that. And
Mhm.
so that's great encouragement to me to hear that not only are you still doing it, but maybe doing it even better than before, or at
Yeah.
least a boundless supply of inspiration, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That makes
Def-
me.
it's true, and it's really hard. Like I know friends like that too, who just doing something amazing, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so talented, but then they just lost their interest, and it's really hard to like see that they kind of lost it. And I actually had like a moment of like burned out because I'm work as a business photographer now, and it's not just like I make money with it, but at the same time it's my favorite thing to do. But it's really hard to keep that balance because for me it's not just about money. It's my favorite thing to do. And no matter how much money I make, if I make zero at all whole year or I make money all the time, I kind of try to like not lose my passion for it, because if I lose my passion, and I don't like creating something, it's just I lose my business and everything. But my passion is more important for me than my business, to be honest, because I want to keep it that way and I want to stick to it, and that's what makes me happy. And that's kind of hard to balance, like
Yeah.
growing business, but at the same time not get burned out by like focusing on business wise stuff instead of just like creating new stuff. So yeah, it's hard sometimes, but I try.
Yeah. We were actually our last video we did. We had Casey Feist on, who's a fellow photographer, and we'd kind of talked about that too. Is there's that difficult balance of trying to when you involve money with your art. Um, there's that tricky balance of like, okay, when does it become a business? When does it become a job? When is it art and purely that, and sometimes the pressures of it and that sort of thing can um, really skew your artistry and stifle you. um,
Yeah.
I don't think you're losing it by any means, but it is nice to hear that we're all kind of having that same struggle.
Yeah.
I think that's just
Sure.
of being an artist,
Yeah, and I think it helps us grow. Yeah, like, you know, just kind of use our art, our passion to actually help us, live and everything and meet new people and yes, make money, but it's
Right.
nice to learn
I,
how to balance.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was something I'd written down here. I'd written a couple of notes, but and actually that's even something I put in the book, in Kaleidoscope Nights, as thanking all the creative artists that helped me put the book together. That was something that, working with you, book, you were always first and foremost about the book. You were like, hey, what can I bring to the table? What do you need from me? What's something I can add? I don't think I ever heard you talk about money once, and that's awesome on my standpoint, just because that takes some pressure off my shoulders, and I can just be like, okay, from that standpoint, I knew you were the right person to have on this project, because you wanted the project to be successful and well done, moreover than any other concern.
Yeah.
And not to say that I didn't get to pay you at least a little bit. Definitely not what you were worth, but as best as I could. But that always did mean a lot to me, that you're like, hey, let's get this done and do it right.
Yeah.
Rather than, where's my money? Don't make a fool out of me, man.
Oh no, it's really important for me to be part of it, and it was just, first of all, it's a new experience for me, something new that I haven't done before. And yeah, I wanted to kind of not match, but like kind of feel, you doing poetry, and I don't know the aspect of that, but I tried to kind of connect through photography with you and kind of understand what are you trying to get, because it's hard because we both do different things, but it's like I
Right.
try to like keep it see your vision of like what do you see in your book. I wanted to at least be as close as I can get to your vision, and try my best, I guess. And it's, for me, it was a creation. It was like I was really into it, like as far as editing, because we tried to change colors and we did this and that and like tried different things, and I tried to see like, okay, what's better. Like, yeah, it was really, really fun for me, because it's also editing wise, like I love editing, so it was amazing for me to try new things and learn how to do this, to like connect to that certain poem with colors and everything. So it was definitely an amazing experience, and yeah, I learned a lot from it. So
Yeah. Well, and I know, and I met you through your husband James, who used to manage Perkins, which is a place me and my buddies used to frequent all the time.
yeah.
And so I knew him for a ton of years. Super nice guy. And then one day, I hadn't seen him for years, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I have a wife," and I'm like, "What?" I was like, "This is crazy. This is awesome." And so I finally got to meet you, and it was just a perfect timing thing, because I was working heavily on the book and trying to get things figured out, and seeing who I was there, and you were like, "Well, I mean, I do some photography," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And honestly, in Bismarck, there's no shortage of photographers. Like, you throw a lawn dart, you'll hit 5 of them, just blindly. So there's, that being said, there's varying degrees of quality photographers out there. And so I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll look at what you had. And you had some really good stuff. And that made me really excited, because I was like, the best thing to do is to find, obviously, somebody who's talented, but also if it's somebody or it just kind of builds that relationship out, and makes the world seem a little bit more united. So yeah, we want to start going through the pictures of the book then.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So first one, I got my book That's cool. That might be the only book, that only copy of that book that's in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be.
That's awesome.
I can't promise it is, but it probably is. All right. So the first photo in the book, the first feature of Miss Kristina Gray,
Mhm.
the eyeball.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a question for you. It's been a while since we've had a chance to sit down and talk. This picture, did you draw it too, or is this a picture of somebody else's artwork?
I did draw it actually.
You
Yeah.
did draw it. Okay. So you've got a lot of talent then. It's not just photography.
Well, yeah, this one I had like a little sketchbook where I just draw like a random thing sometimes, just like I don't know. I never take like art classes, but I just sometimes in the mood to like draw objects and like weird things. And for some reason, for a while I was drawing like eyes, just like eyes only, and different shapes, and like just in black only in black, like marker or just pencil.
Sure.
Just dark, moody for some reason. I don't know, with like lots of dark and lighter shades. And yeah, and I was like, I remember we talked about like something like that, and I was like, let me see if I have something. I looked like some of my stuff, and I found this eye. I remember sending it to you, and I was like, maybe this will work, and I can add. I remember, I think actually I did the color. I edited and I added in Photoshop the color of the eye because
Okay.
it was dark, but the green because we wanted to add color, like like everything is dark and we want pop color.
Right.
So yeah, I did like add like a green in my editing stuff.
Yeah. Well,
So
no,
yeah,
it looks good. Actually, a buddy of mine, Sean, who was on here, he thought it was an actual eyeball. Like,
yeah.
and he was trying to figure out. He's like, "How did she get the pencils to lay on their face without blinking and stuff?" And I was like, "You idiot! It's a drawing." But
Seriously?
that being said, it's very really well done and very well detailed.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I surprised. Honestly, I was afraid it's not gonna look exactly like kind of realistic when I add the color because it was just kind of black and white inside the eyeball. But then I kind of add like a little, you see the like that light color on the eyeball. So I
Yeah.
add, yeah, it's kind of like a glare. So I try to create like a glare, like a real eye has sometimes when you look at the light. And actual green color, like I use like a brush with green and um, photoshopped it in there. So I played a little bit with Photoshop, and then I had to take a picture of it and then crop it, and just and then kind of like edit a little bit actual picture that I took of it. So it was quite a process.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I was just looking at that. I was noticing the light part of the eyeball. Um, did you do that? Was that already there in the drawing, or did you do that in Photoshop?
So that the light by the black like in the middle, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think I add like a glare in Photoshop to
Okay.
create a glare. I think it wasn't an original picture. It was a glare as well. It was like a lighter left kind of color to have like a glare, but it wasn't showing up on the picture very well when I like took a picture. So I had to add more like stuff through Photoshop. Yeah, to kind of show it like to pop the color a little bit more. Yeah.
Huh. Well, and that's the thing too nowadays. If you want to be a good photographer, you can't just take photos. You have to
Mhm.
be a good editor. You have to have a lot of technical skills, uh,
Yeah.
in all that, and you obviously do. So
And I love Photoshop. I know a lot of people like more. I mean, it's depend on the photographer too. Some people like just the natural stuff. But I create art a lot, and lately I do not just like plain natural photo. Like I love creating art and do double exposures, like create like multiple pictures together and create something unique. And you need Photoshop. You need kind of programs for it.
yeah,
Um, and Photoshop is amazing. I feel like it's amazing. You can do anything there, and I still learn every single day. It's never ending story as far as learning Photoshop. There's just so much going on in there, and I love it. Honestly, it's something. It's completely different aspect of photography that I think you should learn if you want to be, um, show kind of yourself, your true, like this is my vision, like the way I edit. It's kind of my vision through Photoshop also. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And and not to crap on anybody who does prefer, just the, natural photography and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But, there is a little bit more, molding, I guess, when you are playing around with, say, Photoshop or editing tools and stuff like that. You're really starting to sculpt something,
Yeah.
which is definitely in line with poetry. I mean, it's usually when I start writing, I've got a very basic idea of what I'm doing. Here's what I'm trying to get across. But it's not until editing it that's when I find what's really there, what's actually good, and what should, show.
Yeah.
So huge process. It's kind of the part that takes the most time and is a pain in the ass, but
Yeah, I always was wondering how is it like when you like trying to come up with something of like what's in your head and put it on the paper and write it down and like find final result. How do you get there with like do you change like your um thoughts, like you change it like the words and stuff, or you just like kind of know right away?
it oh, it depends,
Yeah.
sometimes an idea will pop in my head and I'll be like, oh my god, I want to write about that. Sounds like it'll be fun, you know um but also something I learned, I was taught in high school through my English teacher, was she said, in writing, you may know what you want to write down and stuff like that, but don't be afraid to kind of let the pen take you where it wants to go, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, there's very few poems that I've sat down and have been like, this is what I want to write, and this is where it's going to go, and I write it down, and I'm like super happy with it. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
It usually feels like I force something to happen, and it's there, and then it's just kind of like, eh. But the times I let it just kind of flow out of me and kind of let the pen direct wherever it's going to go, those are hands down always the best poems.
Yeah.
So it's having the idea, but also the freedom to just let it go wherever it's going to go.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's really a good feeling when you just kind of know where it, like you finally like found the spot for like the yeah,
Right,
when
right.
it's all put together as a puzzle and you're like, yes, that's what I wanted it. And
Yeah. Well, and it's always a surprise too.
yeah.
Because I'm like I said, I might have an idea of, oh, well, for instance, we did scripted in Sapphire the other day, and that's a poem about loss, and that's what I was writing. Somebody who's mourning the loss of a loved one. Well, as I was writing, it all of a sudden came into my mind and started feeling like, well, what if the person that's mourning this person uh, also killed that person? Like, and I was like, oh, that's a dark turn. What the heck? Like,
Yeah.
that's not. I came up.
Wasn't going
I
there.
didn't. Like, it's weird. It's and I've said that about poetry too before. Is that I don't feel like I'm really creating it. I feel like I'm discovering it. It's a really strange feeling, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But I think I've heard that from other artists before. Sometimes it doesn't feel necessarily like you're making something, but it's like you're finding something that already exists and you're bringing it into being, um, which is it's an interesting way to take it. But it's the only way I feel about poetry. It's the only way it makes sense. But maybe I just have a tumor. I don't know.
I feel like everyone has their own like angle or way to get there, and it's
Yeah.
amazing part about it. That's what makes it you unique. That's you, and that's your stuff because you have your own kind of way to get where you want to get, and you know,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's for me it's the same too. Like I like to share the way I do stuff, but not everything because like I have my own, little ways how I end up with this kind of result with from original way, one, and it's kind of, I don't know. For some people it could be easy, but then I do some certain things that like it's kind of my way, but it's like no one thought of it like to do that, and then it's like I ended up with this.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah.
I'm sure too. If you were to sit down with somebody and they were like, "Hey, show me how to do photography. Show me exactly what you do and why you do it," you could show them, but
Yeah.
they still couldn't do what you're doing. Like they can't replicate what you're doing because there's something about you and your insight and the way you think about things and view things that you're creating something that nobody else can touch. Maybe they can get
Yeah.
kind of close, or maybe they can get some of the technical aspects down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
But
you.
it's always different, yeah. It's always, even for me, it's always different. I don't have like exact path every time how I edit, like, oh, I do this and that. Like, it's always like I go with the flow. Like, I need to see like the light of my photo, what I have to change, what I have to fix. It's always depend on the quality of the picture I ended up with and what settings I made. So it's always every single photo, it's like a different process. So
Right.
it's kind of hard to teach. I can only teach a few things, how to find certain things in Photoshop, but like again, it's kind of my own way, and it's kind of hard to explain even sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
I get that. Well, let's pop over to the cup photo next.
Oh yeah. So
Say what?
yeah, I found it. Here we go.
Oh yeah. So, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think this was the last photo we added to the book, right? Was this the last one?
Yes, I think this one was the last one because I remember. Oh my gosh, my cat is trying to get in. Sorry. Yes,
No,
this is the last one I think because I remember adding yellow to the lemon too, like trying to fix it up a little bit.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Here, hold on, just a second. I'm gonna open the door quick.
No, you're good. So this is her cup photo here, which is stunning and doesn't really show up on here very well, but you can kind of see there's actually at least two pictures going on. You can see towards the bottom here, this pattern. There's I believe it's some leaves, branches, and stuff like that bleeding through, which isn't actually featured in any other of the photos in the book. So
Sorry.
that makes it pretty unique. No, you're good. I was just telling everybody about how it's you were talking about layering photos together.
Oh yes.
And
Yes, this one has two different photos. It's I added like a layer of another photo on top of the original.
yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't, and then we kind of, I think I did it like in black and white, and then the lemon I have to add the colors as well after. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember getting this one back, and I get a little simplistic sometimes. And, I was like, okay, I told you these are the photos we want to do, kind of close ups of things. We wanted to have an isolated color in it. And so when I got this one back, I was like, okay, there's like two photos going on here. I was like, we don't have that anywhere else in the book. So I was like, is that going to throw things off too much? Is it losing the pattern? But honestly, this is, I think this is my favorite one you have.
Yeah.
I really like.
I even like more this picture in black and white because the original was in color. I have like this picture in color too, and it has like both of the pictures and the colors kind of pop through, and it's just kind of a little bit busy, you know, but it's like just a different style. But
Sure.
in black and white, I think it's kind of floats with it, kind of, and like built, you know, it's kind of, it's not as like, it doesn't look as busy and doesn't pop, but it's also, you can see kind of like the shapes of another photo in it, like leaves and everything here, and
Right. It almost looks kind of like a faint
yeah,
tattoo or something. You know, there's the ghost of another image, but it just adds a different depth and dynamic to it, and I really
yeah,
like it. It works for the photo very well, and I don't think it's showing up too well on Skype, unfortunately. Which just,
yeah,
you guys should go and buy the book so you
yep.
can get it.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to see because it's just the dark and moody over here too. It's kind of a little bit shades of color in there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. That's another thing. Like I like photographing just the random stuff like that. Just like I remember standing outside and I just took a picture of me holding my cup of tea with lemon in it, and I was like, why not? I need a picture of that for some reason in my. And then I remember I had like fence with like lots of green, like I don't know what the plant was at, but it was like all over the fence, just a lots of like um I don't know how to explain it, but I just took a picture of it. It was like I was standing right by this tree, and I took a picture of it too. And then when I started editing at home, I was like, I need to put this together. And I like adding two photos together and kind of see where it takes me, and it's like kind of blends in pretty interesting here.
Yeah. Well, it's really well balanced. Like it's like you were saying about like it in color, maybe it's a little too busy, but
Mhm.
black and white, it's you know what the main subject is. You've got the cup, you've got the you've got I'm assuming that's your hand too then, right?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you
plug
know.
my.
You've got all that in there in the main, you know, subject, but you've got this detail and this pattern, everything else, you know, going through with it. It's just
Yeah.
really well done. I kind of wish I would have known and thought about doing that for like more photos, just because of how unique and interesting that is. Uh,
Yeah.
but just looking at it, it looks like it would have been a pain in the ass to do. Like I don't know if it was. Was it easy, or were you? Did you feel
um,
like,
it
oh, this is how I need to do this, or were you like,
it's kind of depend. In Photoshop, it's harder. There's like a layers you have to add. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not hard for me now because I just know the ways. I know the shortcuts now, so it
yeah,
kind of fast. I do it really fast now. I think for beginners it would be a little bit hard, but overall, like if you figure it out and watch a few videos, you kind of know. Okay, you know. And some other programs, not as Photoshop, you can do that now, and it's not as hard. If you try it a few times. But yeah, kind of. I mean, it looks kind of like it's, I don't know. Since it's like a blend in, it doesn't even look like there's another. I don't know. It's kind of in black and white. It looks completely different than in color. It's like,
yeah?
yeah. But yeah, I love doing that kind of stuff.
Do you have the color one? Would you be able to
Like
show it?
I think I did have it. I had it on my old laptop. I don't think I have it now.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I don't think I have originals now because it just takes so much memory. So when I edit, I keep my finished result, and like
Right.
sometimes I, get rid of like all of the photos, my try photos that I do. So I don't think I have that photo now. I have to look back. Maybe somewhere on the internet I posted at some point, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
If you ever find it, you should let me know. Send it to me, and I'd love to
Yeah,
put it on the page and just be like, hey, alternative take as to
yeah.
what it could have been.
And maybe I have the original photo somewhere. Like maybe I posted online somewhere. I'll take a look. But yeah, but
Yeah,
definitely,
send it over. I'd love to put it up.
yeah, sounds good.
All right, let's pop over to the roses.
Oh yeah, let's see. Let me
The
find them.
roses.
Oh, here we go.
This one's very vibrant. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, the pop color. It's really bright here.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, and you also maintain the detail of the wood too, like the grain
Yeah,
of cracks and all that. Held up really well.
yeah, I love this one. It's all the yeah, I really like this one. And this one was actually kind of hard for me to figure out how to change the color on that one. Because originally it was a different color of the actual rose.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a different color. I believe it was not as bright as you can see. It's almost look unreal color. It's like really bright and
Pretty
um,
vibrant. Yeah.
very vibrant. And I think it was like a light pink rose, like really light color. Um, but yeah, again, I think I remember doing that in Photoshop as well. I made the photo black and white, and I chose all the petals and actual flower. Kind of chose it separately, kind of like as a layer, and then I changed the color just on those objects separately, and changed the color, like made it colorful, and then have to make the layer of the colors, like, and chose this bright color because I thought it would be really cool compared to this black and white around kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With the rose originally, was it a solid like light pink, or was there the white parts to it too?
yeah, it was white parts, like where you see
Okay.
the white. It was originally white, and everything else was bright. It was like a light pink color.
Okay. So it's a bit
Yeah,
subdued than in the photo.
yeah, because it's like, and now since they turned photo black and white, it kind of, the white turned really light, like much brighter than it was. Um, yeah, because I left it kind of that way. I guess it's just the way the color works. I think it just picked up on the actual color of the rose and made it really bright, and everything else kind of like a contrast went to like opposite direction and went like really bright light.
Right. Well, it pops really well on there,
Yeah,
which,
yeah,
which is
and
kind of the point of 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 having those photos in there, and that's exactly what I wanted was black and white,
yeah,
nice detail, but there's that color that just really stands out and slaps you in the face.
yeah, yeah. This one has turned out really bright. I think like, yeah, it's like such a vibrant color. And I love that it's a dry rose, not like a fresh rose. I like that I chose this one because it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
in particular on the rose head on there and stuff, you can really see there's a
hmm,
lot of detail in it. And
yeah,
see it dried up a little bit. You can see a lot of the crackles and it
hmm,
almost looks paper like.
yes, yeah. And I don't know why it is, but I love photographing dry dead flowers more than that. More,
That's a thing, huh? That's
it's the dark side of me.
dead dying flowers, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, I like it.
yeah,
That could be a really cool photo book right there.
yeah.
That'd be a
So,
sweet time to have flowers or something like that.
yeah, I don't know why. Like I use dead dry flowers for a lot of props for my other photography, other stuff that I photograph, like
Yeah.
drinks or like objects or like for my businesses. I use it as a props to just create some colors around. And I don't know, the dry just look not as bright and kind of brings a good decent enough color, but not as busy.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it just kind of has that like rustic look.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
It's not so soft and perfect and uniform and
yeah.
everything. There's clearly been some you you know there's some
Mhm.
age to it. There's some suffering. There's some
Yeah.
life has been lived in it.
Yeah. That's what I like too. I don't know why it really catches my attention that I don't know, it's just look of it. It's just different. It has like a story or something in it. Yeah.
So, and
True.
I think, this photo, if I remember right too, um, this wasn't actually one that we had talked about or planned out. This was one you'd already done before we even talked about the book, right?
Yes, I had that photo. Like I did it. I think I fixed it a little bit. Like I made it darker. It was black and white, and I
Oh,
think yeah, it was. I mean, the way I did it in the beginning, it was black and white. I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was already. But I remember that you said you want a kind of like moody, like really dark and bright color.
yeah.
It was, you know, a little bit lighter, I think, and I had to like fix up the settings a little bit and make it like darker, just, you know, a little bit, just a contrast to change it a little bit, because I wanted in the book look much brighter than, I wasn't sure how it's gonna look on the print, you know. So I made it a little bit brighter just in case, kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely changed it because I had like original, when I took this photo, it was just like um it was already idea. I think I have a few, I think, photos even on Facebook, I think, that I did black and white. Like I already made them black and white with color because I don't know, I like the idea. I didn't want to keep it in color. I wanted to do like a black and white with pop color. Um, yeah.
Cool.
Just-
Here, sorry, I gotta just pop over here real quick. Do you want
okay.
to jump to the stoplight one and start talking about that?
Oh yeah, let's
Yeah,
do that.
I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Oh yeah, this one. Let's see here. Here we go. There's the actual picture. Let's see. You can see. There you go. So yeah, this one is also black and white. Um, with really, really dark, as you can see, the shape of the actual light is like turned completely black. You can see only a few shapes around, and bright, bright red color light. There you go. And everything is around is just like a white. And originally this photo was in color as well. Um, and this picture, actually, I didn't have that picture before. I know, I remember we discussed it, like that we need a light picture of the light, like a specific, like a red light, street light. And I went on the street, I remember, a few times and took a few photos of just a red bright color, and try to find a good angle to be like as close as I can, but so everyone can see that it's actually a red light, street light, not just like some weird object. and and yeah, and kind of I zoomed in on it, I think, and I remember tried from far away. I remember I had a picture of like actual whole street light with like red color and a few close-ups like this. And I think I had to zoom in on it a little bit closer and cut it kind of to just have like a focus on actual light more. Um, and yeah, I did it black and white as well, and kind of did. I remember editing this and making it. I had to like use my brush to like make the actual um, the black area really, really dark because it wasn't as dark. So I did that by hand to make it like really, really moody and dark, and have a contrast around, like a white, completely light colors around, to pop everything in the middle. And the bright red color I did by hand as well because it wasn't as bright for some reason. I had to fix that up a little bit too.
Now,
Um,
when you say you did it by hand, what does that mean?
I mean, like in Photoshop, I used like a brush, like a contrast brush, and I basically painted. I have like a board where I painted details. Um, so basically, like a color that by hand, everything, like all the black area around, I did it all by hand with like a thick brush.
So you painted in by hand all the red in
Yeah, the red on top, like over here, this red, like this side, I painted it on top of that red wasn't there originally, like a light color, but it wasn't as bright enough because I think it was daytime, so it wasn't
there?
like,
Right, the contrast, so it would bleed out that color.
yeah, it was kind of like, you know, kind of faint because of the daylight, so it wasn't as the way I wanted it. But I tried at nighttime photographing that, and it was just hard to pick up because I wanted the quality still be decent. So I
Right.
had to do it during the day and then just fix it in Photoshop to have that bright light. Because if I tried at night, it was just losing the quality of the photo and wasn't everything was just dark around, and it was kind of hard to make it look like it's a like a actual light, like a street light.
Right. See,
So yeah,
guys, this is, I have to say right here, and I've been guilty of this, is when you see a photographer and stuff, easiest thing in the world to be is like, that's an easy job. You just take a picture and you're done. You just click it. It's the easiest job in the world. I didn't even know this part of it. I had no idea she hand painted this back in. That just goes to show you the amount of time and also effort and quality that she put in that I had no idea even on. So I was like, I probably got this and I was like, yep, that's exactly what we wanted to do. That looks awesome, cool.
well,
And I'm probably here wondering why it took a couple days for you to do it. And the whole time you're sitting in there painstakingly hand painting it in. And
yeah. And sometimes it wouldn't turn out the way I want, or I have to go back and like, as you
right.
can see over here on top, right by the actual light, there's a little dark shade over here on the white. You see that little like a dark area,
Yeah.
like over here. So you can see I kind of was go over with black brush, and it kind of went over a little bit. So it's like, can you see?
Now you're pulling out the flaws in the book. You're trying to show everything.
It kind of shows you that it's like kind of like I did like I was painting over it, but it was like different colors, so I had to turn it to darker. So I did it on purpose, like darker, kind of to have like a little shade instead of the. As you can see, there's a little different color in there, but I have to like paint it over a little bit.
I literally never noticed that. Not once.
But it's like, yeah, it's just kind of shows that it's I just forgot about it. I just saw it on the book again. I was like, oh, looks like I tried to paint this over here, and yeah.
Yeah, and that goes to show too. Also, your talent and craft is you can actually pick out the minute details and the things that could be flaws or mistakes or whatever in photography. Whereas myself, I was like, this is a really great photo. I like it. I never even noticed that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's
I
another
like
like
a little
so.
more.
Yeah, it's I definitely hard on myself, I would say, and I can see all the the things I work on and try to fix and everything, and like every time I've heard that a lot before, that people saying that I'm critical of my work, and that's another thing. Like right now, I'm pointing at things that I mean, I think as far as like editing, I I'm happy with the result. That's exactly how I wanted it to be. And I'm just looking at it right now. I just start remembering how I did it. It's like, oh, I remember I was like struggling to paint this part, and like, so.
No, that's awesome. I mean, that goes to show too, and I appreciate your honesty about it, and I love it. I think that adds more layers of detail and story to that photo.
Yeah.
But I love that you're so focused and detailed on it, and I think that is also a big characteristic of being a talented artist. Is I think you should be pretty critical and maybe sometimes hard on yourself with your
Yeah.
art, because as an artist myself, I don't want to produce anything subpar. I don't want to produce anything that's less than the best I can do.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
That's how I feel. That's exactly. And I think that's why I got where I am right now. And like looking back, I know I was doing good. Like I mean, like every year I feel like I can see the difference between my work, and like because I'm pushing myself and I'm not happy about things I do. And I definitely get inspired by other people and other things that I read and learn and watch, and I'm like, okay, I need to do this too. I need to learn how to do this. I can do it, so I can use it with and explore, like kind of show my vision, but through this kind of stuff, through this editing that I don't know how to do yet. So it definitely, if I wouldn't be hard on myself, I probably would be still stuck on the same level that I was a few years ago. And
Oh
it
yeah.
definitely, I grow as a photographer and artist that way. That's true, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But then too, I mean, you can't go too far. I mean, you can get too critical of yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
then you just be a perfectionist and get
Yeah.
by that, and then there's no satisfaction in your art. But I don't think you're at that point. I think you're at a pretty healthy level of, hey, I like this. I did the best I could, and I'm going to keep doing this and getting better at it. I think you've got the perfect mentality for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's hard to keep it like that, but sometimes you have to give yourself like, okay, credit. Like you trying your best, and that's amazing already, I think. And yeah.
And I think the stoplight may have been the only. I don't know about only, but it was that was one idea that I'd had for a photo I wanted since the very beginning.
Yes, you did. Yeah, because I didn't have that. Wasn't my original photo or anything. I had to go and like, um, you know, look around and find the light and take a picture because I remember we talked about it and you told me you have this vision of the red light, bright red light with
Yeah.
this like black white kind of like yeah, like a contrast. And I was like, okay, let's try this. Yeah, I remember going a few times and looking for a street light and angle. Which angle should I take? How do I? Yeah, I
Mhm.
remember.
Speaking of
That.
that, when you go out and take say random photos of a stoplight, do you ever feel really awkward or embarrassed when you're taking photos like that? Because clearly you're out there, snapping photos, and people are look at you like, what is she taking pictures of, and
Yeah.
why? Do you ever feel embarrassed or self-conscious when you do anything like that, or?
I think I used to before because I didn't feel really like now I know who I am. Now I know what I'm doing, and I have like my purpose why I'm doing this. I have this idea in my head, and even if I'm going right now outside somewhere, taking photos of random things that I need for certain projects, like I'm kind of in my little world. I don't see anything else around.
You
I'm
don't even
just
think about it then. That's not
yeah,
even on.
yeah. I don't even have time to look at someone who's looking at me or not. I'm just kind of like I'm just getting into that kind of mode. Like okay, I need to get
Right.
this and I'm just with my camera and everything just kind of stops around me. Yeah,
Right.
and yeah, that's mostly how I photograph everything. But in the past, I remember I didn't have enough confidence. I was like still learning things. I think I was focusing on the wrong thing. Yeah, I was thinking, oh, what people would think. Well, I look stupid right now. I'm just climbing
Right.
or around taking pictures of some stupid thing. Well, probably, there's so many things was in my head, like, oh, people probably looking at me like I'm not a professional. I'm just some kind of random person who just take a picture, which was gonna turn out shitty anyway. Like,
Right.
yeah, I had those weird thoughts in my head, um, and it was so. I mean, in the past, it felt like okay, yeah, I think that's how it is. But now I think about it, I'm just like, that was wrong. That was wrong, because you just have to do you and focus on what you do, and that's how you get a result. And yeah,
Well, and I mean too, you're younger at that age too, and it's a lot of what you're concerned with is being cool, or at least not looking stupid, you
yeah,
know. And when you go out and take photos, maybe you do look stupid, and stuff. But it's getting past that. It's realizing that constantly having a cool demeanor, or at least minimizing the amount of times you look foolish,
hmm
is so superficial and doesn't get you in life.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to do your thing. And you know what? People can sit there and judge or laugh, whatever. But at the end of the day, you've created a piece of artwork, something that's wonderful. And meanwhile, they've sat there and eaten a cheeseburger and taxes.
And talked about you for a second. Yeah, exactly. You know what? Those kind of moments, I remind myself like that world spins not just around me, and yeah, people will talk and they will move on, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna end up with something that I wanted to achieve, and that's the most important, you know. Yeah, and I remember in the past I didn't even have enough confidence. I was like worried about taking pictures even of people outside. I was like nervous around people, and it's another thing that as a photographer I had to go through, like um, put my personality behind myself and just be there for people, be present for my customers, and take pictures of them in public, and be confident and make them feel comfortable, because that's the most important thing for me as a photographer. Um, and now I'm taking pictures in downtown of people in the streets, even of random people that I've never met. I have a project. Sometimes I go downtown and I challenge myself. I don't go and take pictures of random people in downtown, ask them if I can take their picture because they look beautiful and I want to capture it. And it's scary in the beginning, but then you can see that you make people happy. And it's something new for me to do, and I learn how to communicate with new people and be open and get out of my comfort zone, and that's how I grow. And it's definitely I don't know, amazing. I think for me that I can do it now, and I couldn't a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. What a few years ago and stuff. Are you kind of more of a reserved person? Are you a little bit shy? That has that been a struggle? Is meeting new people and being outgoing, or is that natural for you?
I think I always been outgoing person, but it was a different personal thing for me as far as like a language wise. I think I was just I couldn't speak really well because English my second language. Um, that was kind of like a challenge for me to like put my personality out there first instead of like focusing on that I don't speak very well. You know what I mean? Of like
Mhm.
my accent, all that stuff. It was just kind of my own bugs that I had to deal with, that I had to go through and like be more confident, and no matter what, you know, I was worrying about different things about my language, if people will understand me. You know, I didn't have enough experience with like speaking second language, so that was a little bit of a challenge as a photographer, because I felt like I have a talent and I'm growing it, and I have enough skills, but it's not enough sometimes, because you need to communicate with people, you need to make people feel comfortable around you. And I felt like I didn't have that enough, you know. I was worried about that I couldn't say enough, I'm not open enough, I'm not less like bubbly and all that because of my language, because I couldn't speak enough. So that's something that I had to go through and kind of I don't know, just build more experience, you know, talk more and just kind of pass it.
Yeah.
And it worked. Yeah. Finally. Yeah.
No, it's. I think even when I first met you, you know, it's your communication skills were always pretty darn good, and I have bad hearing anyway, so like. But you've always been very positive and very nice and bubbly. Um, Back home, where are you from again, originally?
Russia.
Russia?
Russia.
Okay, I thought so. In Russia, are you very outgoing? Is it
Yeah.
pretty?
Yeah. The thing, I think I have a different personality in my own language,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like you just completely different person when you speak different language, because you just can't do as much as you can. You can't express enough as you can on your own language, and it
Right.
kind of builds up the wall, you know, between you and the people you communicate with. And that's a hard challenge. That's kind of hurts your confidence a little bit.
Oh,
And
yeah. No, very humbling. Very
yeah.
experience. I took 2 years of Spanish, and I flunked. I I'm always impressed with anybody who can speak another language, much less maybe multiple. Um, but that's something that my mind just can't really wrap around. It doesn't do well with, and so when anybody can speak really, really good English, I'm like, awesome, good, you're smarter than I already know it.
But I can give a little short piece of advice about that. I feel like anyone can speak another language, but you have to be. In my situation, I was forced to learn English. I didn't choose right away to learn English. I didn't care to learn English when I was back home, living my best life at home with my own language. I didn't care for English, but then I came to America and realized I need to live here. I need to speak. I had no choice. So if you put yourself in a situation when you don't have a choice and
Right.
you're just stuck there, you figure it out. You have to. You have no other choice, and you will learn. You will speak fluently at some point eventually, and you'll understand. And I think that's the thing. Something has to force you to do it, because back then I had internet, everything, college where I learned English, but it wasn't enough for me because I didn't have a passion. I didn't have an urge to learn. I was
Yeah.
like, one day, you know. But when you need it, you will do it. So it's like if you really feel like you have a situation that forces you to learn, that's what happened to me. I think I had to learn, and I had no other choice. So that's exactly what happened. I'm glad it happened to me.
Well,
I'm
it's
happy that I
photography
now.
too. Your photography also forced you to, I mean, interact with other people, and maybe sometimes there was a bit of a language barrier, or a bit of self-consciousness in those interactions. But I would say your artwork can get across what maybe a language barrier, kind of keeps you from saying. You know,
Hmm.
maybe you can't exactly explain why, what kind of a photo you can take or how to put or something, but you could show somebody the photo and they'll be like, enough said. Okay, clearly you're talented, clearly you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
There might be a language barrier, but I know what you're capable of. And it kind of bridges that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's nice too. It's one thing that's good that I can show that, I guess, without saying anything, and focusing on my art sometimes, and you know instead of like talking too much, and like, here it is, take a look and see what you think. And yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's jump to the last photo, I believe. Uh, the
The
drum photo.
drum. Yeah, here we go.
This is another. I love them all, but this one also stands out really well to me.
I really like this one. I love my personal, I guess, opinion. I love the quality of this photo.
Mm-hmm.
The details. I just like how it shows the old little details of the drums, and the light on the metal, and just shapes and colors, and all this. The blue pops and really cool, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very well done. There's a lot going on in the photo. At the same time, it's not busy. It's
Mhm.
a simple subject. It's a close up, but you can see so much with it. Like you're saying, like the chrome highlights. You've got that beautiful blue coming through. You've got the
Yeah.
contrast dark metal plate with the drumsticks highlighted very gently. You
Mhm.
can actually even see like scuff marks and scratches on the chrome. Like it's
Yeah.
very high detail, which
Yeah.
is
And
cool.
totally, you can almost see a little dust on the metal too.
Yep.
Mhm.
And actually, I knew we were going to talk about this photo, so I haven't touched this in I don't know how long, far too long, but
Yeah.
I brought my snare
Oh,
drum.
there it is.
This- it doesn't.
Sweet.
There. That looks more like.
Yeah.
the right
Mm-hmm.
lighting. But yeah, um, played drums for a number of years and still toy around with it a little bit. I ended up coming back from, I think it was Minnesota. I found
Mm-hmm.
it, and this stunning metal drum, this metal snare, and it's got this crazy cool blue pattern
Yeah.
in it and stuff. And yeah,
I love all. So
was
cool.
it your idea? Were you like, I can't remember. I know we had you over a couple of times and
I think
going over.
I looked at it because yeah, when we went to your place, I think I saw it there, and I was like in your room when I was just like walking around because you had like some lights on the walls, and I took some pictures of the lights on the
That's
walls.
right. Right.
And then I did, yeah, and then I think we did like I don't know, I think we come up with this idea. You said you wanted to try to do some of the drums because you like the blue, because we were looking for the blue color, like one of another um because we didn't have any other blue color, I think, on the other ones, and this one already had blue. I
Right.
think that's what, yeah, and yeah, and I edited this the name of it over here, the
That's
one,
right. Yep. Pork
yeah,
pie.
yeah, completely shaded black in Photoshop as well. See black in there to kind of keep it not as busy with too many words around and just kind of keep it
Right.
simple.
And I think I
Yeah,
was nervous too because one of the grayer areas for me in publishing is figuring out, okay, what can you mention that's in the public domain and what can't you,
yeah,
brands and that sort of thing. And so I know I think I was just kind of like, I love this photo. I just don't know if pork pie is gonna work on there, which I know we're mentioning on here, but
yeah,
I think it's gonna be fine. But in the photo, what I'm really impressed with is it doesn't look like you blacked it out. It looks
hmm,
natural. It looks like exactly how the shading would work.
yeah. It just looks like it was. I mean, I honestly almost forgot that I did it, and now I can see a little bit. I see that like since you showed it on the video, like I can see that it was edited.
Well, I think it comes across very natural. Like I remember when you got back, I think I even thought you just retook the photo.
Mhm.
I don't even think
Uh,
I edited it.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I did. I did. I remember around all this black, I shaded with black color too more to make it like completely black around, and the top I didn't do anything with it. Just made it brighter a little bit. I think I didn't shade anything in there, but I did a contrast on the blue for sure to pop a little bit the color
right,
to actual blue. Yeah, I remember doing that, and the black around, I think, but it was already when I took it was already like pretty bright and good colors, I think. This one was pretty much original photo, yeah. Well, I mean, I did everything. It's a black and white photo as well. But it's hard to see because there's no other colors. It's just dark,
right.
and the metal, it's metal kind of, yeah, it looks like it's just a original. Yeah, I
Well,
love this photo too.
and that kind of seems to be kind of the theme for a lot of these photos. Was there's a lot of black in it and that color pop, which is pretty difficult. And I'm realizing this just even now talking with you, just
Hmm.
because when there's light out, it bleeds that color away. It's not as stark and vibrant. And in the dark, it just kind of makes everything else super dark. And it just,
Yeah.
so trying to find that balance is definitely tricky, trickier than I know. And I think you did it really well. And made it look easy as far as I could tell from my standpoint.
Yeah, it's I really, that's what I liked. I think when the beginning when you start telling me the idea of the pictures you want, I really like that it's moody, like dark and color as well. That was I don't know. It was really interesting to me because I like my photos. I mean, it's depend, I guess. But I like moody photos. I like dark shades and shadows, and all that stuff. And I'm definitely more on the moody side of photography than on the light and colorful.
Right.
I would say. But that's I think what catches my attention. Kind of, I was really into making it kind of whimsical and dark, and at the same time has like the interesting bright color popping out, and it was really cool to work on that contrast. And yeah, I liked it.
So that's the last photo in the book. So I think it was five of them, right? Yeah,
Yep.
five altogether. So which of those ones? Which one is your favorite? What which is your, if you can choose? I know it's hard when you do
Yeah.
artwork. Like that's kind of a hard question to ask, but I'm asking you. What was your? Which of those
Um,
ones are you like? Yeah, that's awesome.
see, I personally, for me, it's fun to see my own hand in the picture in your book. Like,
Very personal there, yeah.
yeah, it's just like, because other photos is like, yeah, it's my work, but it's interesting because this one is like part of me almost in your book.
Right,
It's kind of
right.
like person, that it's like, it's my own photo, my mug, my hand, my sweater here. It's a, and it's kind of me. Like, I take those kind of photos a lot, not
Mhm.
just of myself, but like little details of. I take a lot of photos of my hand holding something like a detail photography, macro photography. I love close up photos, and I use my hands a lot in the photos, and that's kind of like part of me a little bit. Kind of shows my personality, and I think I like this photo a lot with the mug and the lemon. Kind of shows me that this is like a little bit piece of me in here, I guess.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
I would say there's a lot of you in this book. Obviously, I think you permeate every picture you take, but also, yeah, your hand is famous now. I mean, your hand is published.
I know. I was like, woohoo.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, you got the book. What do you think of the book? What's your impression? What's your feeling on it?
I think, well, first of all, I mean, not even just talking about my photography and all, like how it's all together. Um, I just, like, I read through your poems, and I think it's really, I mean, honestly, I would be honest with you, I'm not good with like poetry. I don't, I read some stuff, but I'm like, it's hard for me to not judge, but like put the whole big opinion about, like, um I just, I don't know. I feel like my view is through the vision, through the eyes, kind of. So it's hard for me to use words to kind of express that. But I
Right.
really like a few poems that I read, and it's really I don't know. It's like, it's really, I feel like personal for you. Even though it's a different stories and stuff,
Yeah.
but it still feels like it's really personal and close to you. Like the way you're describing everything, I can see that it goes through you. Like it's not just you writing about something.
Yeah.
You're putting your own kind of stories and your thoughts in there. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel it. It's not just some story you came up with, but it touches you in some way. Like you're telling your own story through these words, kind of.
Hmm.
um that's kind of how I feel it. And um I don't know, and I feel like even some of the pictures are not exactly like exactly matched with the poetry, but I think it turned out so well together. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's something I should say too is one of the things that I told. I think I told you, but I think I told everybody was that I wanted photos in the book were that could correlate with whatever poem they were next to or whatever, but I didn't want that necessarily to be the thing. You know, I wanted them to be able to stand on their own, and I definitely think you succeeded with that. So
I like the idea that you did that. That it's different. It's not exactly the same picture of the story of the board. You know, of the yeah. It has its own little kind of a way. You know, their own little way to express it, and yeah, I love that.
right, yeah, and that's the wonderful thing about this book is it's a nice amalgamation of people's work. It was people working together. It was all my poetry, but it was also some of your photography, some of Shane's, some illustrations by Danny. So I mean, it was different artwork pieces uplifting each other and adding maybe another dynamic or dimension that they
Yeah.
wouldn't have had on their own. You know. So,
No, it's true. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
do you? I do want to ask this. If I know you said you're not too big into poetry. Is it if it was written in Russian, would it be a little bit more, or is it not even necessarily that? Like, is it just poetry
I
in
would
general?
say
Go ahead.
I would
Sorry.
say like, I read actually all of them. Like I've read them all to just kind of, you know, I try to like um I mean, like I wanted to understand like your style and everything, kind of like what like the way you're expressing yourself. I think for me, just a little bit hard sometimes. Yeah, as far as certain words that you use, I have to translate for myself to get the point to like understand exactly the
Right.
meanings. Some that aspect is a little bit hard too. Um, yeah, in my own language, maybe it would be slightly easier to understand everything. Even in my language, sometimes some poets, you know, like they're just it's just like a deep hidden kind of meaning, and it's not always you not always understand that even on your own language. It's
Right.
kind of hard. You have to I don't know have a vision for it. There's yeah, but it's I mean it's definitely no certain things I picked up and I really like the idea, like the way the style of your how you express your thoughts. It's I really liked it. Yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. I mean like as far as like poetry, like I can't compare it to anything because I don't read a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's different. I can see that it's your own unique style, and I really like it. That's as an artist, I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Good. Cool. Cool. Uh, did you have a favorite, or did you have one that kind of jumped out to you?
I do. I actually really liked this one, the TV Guide to Being Happy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that one. I've read it a few times, and I just really like about how it's like I don't know, how it's like we all
Are you still there? I think we may have lost her. I'm gonna bounce out of this real quick and see if we can't reconnect. Oh.